Yo, this is Gyromancer here, and welcome back to another First Impressions video. Today we'll be taking a look at
Rise of Incarnates.
Rise of Incarnates is an online brawler created by Bandai Namco Games, who also created Dragon Ball Xenoverse, which has a very similar fighting style. Brawlers are fighting games that take place in a three-dimensional world, so this adds a interesting dynamic to the traditional 2D fighting games like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. What sets Rise of Incarnates apart is that it is a team brawler, meaning you fight in pairs of two. So instead of a traditional health bar, there's a stock bar. On the stock bar, there are a total of 6 stock. Each character has a different amount of stock based on their health. So there are 1, 2, and 3 stock characters. Whenever a character is killed, that character's stock is subtracted from their team's stock bar. So you have 6 stock in total, which means that if you kill a 3 stock character twice, you win the game. But if you are using a 1 stock character, they have to kill you 6 times in order to win. So keep in mind, you are in a team of 2. So you don't just have to worry about your character dying, you also have to worry about your partner. On the topic of characters, let's go over character selection. When you first start up the game, you are given a free week to try out all the characters for free. There are currently 10 characters in the game, though I've run into a few extra when playing bots, so I assume that there are characters that are currently being tested. If you play a bit during this trial period, you will receive even more time to try out all the characters for free. After your trial period is up, then you get to pick one of the characters to have as your own. So use the trial period to try out all the characters and figure out which one you want to keep. Besides the character you get to keep, there are 2 characters per week that are available for free. You can also buy characters using in-game Lamina points, which are earned in fights. Characters are also customizable in various ways. You're able to buy cosmetics by paying real money in-game, and more importantly, you can upgrade your character stats in the skill grid. The skill grid is like what it sounds. It's a grid that you fit skill cubes into. Each of these skill cubes gives your character a little boost in damage, defense, etc. Skill cubes are occasionally won in battles and can also be bought with Lamina points. Your skill grid also grows over time to allow for more skill cubes to be placed in the grid. This system deviates from the typical fighting style games like Street Fighter, in which you just pick a character and play. There's a bit more involvement in managing your characters, and your opponent might have an advantage that you don't have. Each character has a unique fighting style that is based on the same button presses, but the outcome is different. The characters each have a bit of personality that comes along with their little quips and taunts, but the taunts can get a bit annoying as they're automatic sayings that your character just says in the midst of a battle, and they can get annoying because you can hear the same taunt multiple times within a minute, and it can kind of get tiring of hearing the same taunt over and over and over. So once you have your characters selected and geared out, what do you do with them? Well, you have a few options. There are ranked matches in which you fight other players online in order to increase your rank, though you fight CPU players for the first 6 ranks in order to get used to the game. In ranked matches, you can play solo, which means just hopping into a random game and getting matched up with a random player to be on your team, or you can play on a team in which you select your partner from your list of Steam friends or your circle, which is a clan system that we'll go over later. You can also create a custom match, or you can just search for games based on the criteria you set up. You can also play versus bots in order to practice. The last option is training. When you first fire up the game, you'll be thrown into a fight with a few bots, and you'll be guided through the system training, which is just basic training. Though once you get through the system training, you're pretty much on your own, though the game does point you toward the ranked matches. Personally though, I think that ranked matches aren't the first thing you should do. I suggest that every new player should check out the character training. You can pick pretty much any character and you'll learn how to play them all. The character training is really just a better version of the basic training system. I was completely lost until I discovered the character training. The training is also a bit difficult because you can play with either a keyboard or a controller. So you gotta read through all the parentheses in order to figure out what buttons you need to push. I personally like to play with an Xbox controller because it makes it easier. Playing with the keyboard is viable, but the setup of the keyboard controls is set up so that you have to do a lot of button combinations like you do on a controller in order to simulate the controller experience on the keyboard. This is really annoying though, because in most keyboard games there are enough buttons on the keyboard that you don't need to combine button presses to complete all the actions, but they intentionally restrict the controls to just a few keys so that you have a similar experience to the controller. On the plus side of this ordeal, the game plays very well with the controllers, so it's a great game to play on your home theater PC or Steam box while sitting on your couch. Unfortunately though, since the battles take place in a 3D world, You aren't going to hand another controller to someone else and play with them at the same time. Though if you have a few Steam friends who enjoy brawler games, you can team up with them and you can all have fun matches. There currently isn't enough of a player base in order for you to hop into a ranked match and just find someone to play with. I was only able to find one ranked match over the course of a couple hours, and I was disconnected almost immediately. While you are waiting for a ranked match, you are thrown into an endless match against a couple bots. This is a nice touch if the game gets to the point where there are enough players to find matches often, because this will minimize a lot of the downtime between matches if you can substitute a bit of it with preparation versus bots. Earlier I mentioned circles, which are the game's clan system. You can set up your own circle or join an open circle. There is a system of ranks for members of the circles that give them different power over managing the circle. There currently isn't any kind of chat, so interaction with your circle will have to happen outside the game, which stinks if you want to communicate the time to get on and team up. The one last thing worth mentioning is the story. There's a bit of a story to the game, but it currently isn't really implemented into the game other than the little quips that your character says before the battle begins. If you look in the library tab, there's an index of characters' stories and general history. The gist of it is the name's gamesake, which is Incarnates. Basically, they are demon-like beings who meld with humans, granting them powers. When the humans give up control to their inner demon, it takes over and they go super berserk. Because of this, the world is in an apocalyptic state, while the various governments try to hire a few incarnates to work for them. The inner demons can be seen in battles when your awakening meter, which is in the left corner of the screen, gets full and you are able to awaken your inner demon. What happens varies between characters, but that is for you to figure out on your own. I've already talked on for quite a while, so we'll wrap it up. Overall, I enjoyed the gameplay, and if you have a few buddies on Steam who want to play a fun brawler with you, then Rise of Incarnates is great for that. There are still rough edges that need to be cleaned up, but the game is still in early access, so the dev team does have time to fix it up. You can tell that they are actively working on the game as new bits of story are added in, as well as new characters quite often. The map selection is currently sparse, only including 3 maps, but hopefully that will change soon as well. It's really a shame how small the player base is for a game that the devs are so committed to. I strongly suggest that you go check the game out, and hopefully we can get more people playing. The game is free to play on Steam, so if you want to go grab it, it's there for you. Hopefully you all enjoyed this First Impressions video. If you want to see more, check out my last First Impressions video in which we took a look at the Homeworld Remastered Collection. If there is a new or upcoming game you'd like me to take a look at in future episodes, post in the comments below. Thanks all for watching, and I will see you all later.